Welcome to the Budapest Psychic with Reverend Maria D'Andrea. I'm your co-host, Mimi. On each episode, we're going to dive deep into the inner workings of our reality, where intuition, energy, and the paranormal converge in one powerful experience, lighting your path to greater achievement and life purpose. Maria is an experienced professional in the spiritual, psychic, paranormal fields, born in Budapest, Hungary, and an author and public speaker, having taught all over the world. When people think of spells, images of witches bending over a steaming cauldron tends to come into mind. Well, we're going to take an even deeper look at this and dispel these archaic ideas that have long been used in the entertainment field for movies and books. So don't go away.
Isten hozott, which means in English, welcome. Okay. So I always look at it as we're all together trying to learn and trying to do better in our lives and move up and be happy. So Isten hozott just means that the universe or God got us all together and you came together for me.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah.
So, on the show, we're going to talk about spells. So, let's get down to the grassroots of it. Like, what is a spell? How is it used? How does one use it in the everyday world? Because we're in a totally different world nowadays.
Spells have been with us for centuries and centuries in every single culture. Sometimes we call them formulas. Sometimes we call them recipes. Okay. But basically all a spell is understanding the laws of nature to put certain things together, such as herbs or gemstones or flowers or oils. We know what to put together from nature to create vibration, frequency, and energy and vital life force to match the purpose of what we're working on. Okay. And you know me, I'm always saying we only do positive, only positive. People are sick of hearing it. But we're always coming together to do something that's with the spell or formula that will create a positive situation. As an example, in business, I had a wonderful, wonderful client years ago, and he got a new boss. And he called me up and he said he didn't know what to do. He said he has a new boss. Nobody in the office likes him. He's being like a mini tyrant, and he doesn't have any consideration for anybody. And he'd made the environment so bad, people were starting to quit. Now, he was in his job a long time. He didn't want to quit. He just wanted the new boss to leave everybody alone, especially him. Right. So we did some herbs and some other things, and again, vibration and frequency, and we put some things together, including your thoughts, because your thoughts create reality. Your thoughts and emotions have to be in it. And he called me up a couple months later, and he said to me, he said, "This worked so well." I said, "Well, what happened? Are you okay? Did you quit and get a better job? What happened?" So he said his boss had an offer. He moved to a different company because he had an offer for a better job. He was making a lot more money, and he moved, and now they have a good guy in there. And after he said that, he left. And I said, "Oh, you have somebody good?" He goes, "Yeah, they moved me up to his position." He was so excited. And he said he wasn't trying to get the guy's job. He just wanted to do his job and not be yelled at and left alone. So the universe works in a funny way. It actually moved him into the position. Everybody already knew him. He wanted to help everybody, and now he was doing better. And the guy that moved, because we do it in a positive way, got a better job and was making more money, which we don't care. He was out of there. That was the whole point.
Right, and you did it for his betterment anyway. You weren't using it
to
to
everybody in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because there's always some way to get rid of something negative or negative energy in a positive way. So we don't go the other way. We only do the positive, and it works quicker.
Right.
Universe likes us.
Are there any type of Hungarian spells that might have been used, centuries ago, or?
Okay, so actually this is a funny one. First of all, there are so many, and in different cultures, there are some that are only passed down magi to magi. I'm a shaman, so shaman to shaman. The people that are very heavy into this field. But there's one that I always think about because it's very ancient, and just about every culture has it, and that's using a broom to get rid of negative energy. When they think of witches, with the brooms and they're sweeping. And it's funny, there's actually a technique for it to work. And what you're doing is you're getting a broom because it's made out of the herb broom. It's just been dried out. So the broom, that's the herb, has very strong vibration to get rid of and to cancel negative energy. So with the broom, there's actually a technique to do that. Now, say you went and you bought a little piece of the herb and you threw it in your wallet, your pocket, a little tiny piece. It's still the same vibration, and it will keep more negativity away from you than what would have happened. So it's not going to cancel everything, because we're learning in this lifetime.
Right. Yeah.
But it would not be as harmful as it would have been if something negative comes up. And you don't have to do anything with it. You just carry it.
Interesting.
And that's in every culture.
Because if you really think about it, like when a person sweeps out of their home, sweeps everything out of their home that's debris or what have you. I remember, like, one of my first spiritual teachers, she had a shop and I worked in it for a little while, and she would start sweeping things out. And I remember one time she says, you're not doing it right. And she was showing me how she was like doing it, and then I think later on I realized that what she was doing was like sweeping the negativity out of the shop, because people who come in there, some of them are going to be on a negative level,
Of course. So, and there's a very definite technique to that, because sometimes you have people, like you said, sometimes you have people where they're going to get the broom and they decided, or sage, by the way, especially with sage, there's a technique for it to actually get rid of the negative energy instead of just having the negative energy nullified temporarily for a couple of minutes because the scent is in the air and the vibration. Okay. So sometimes people think they're doing something correctly and they're close, but there's always a technique to get it right.
So what are people doing wrong nowadays with saging?
Well, saging, it depends on how they're using it. Now, if you're just lighting the sage in the room, it's going to work for a while, but it's very temporary. But if you actually feel like you have negative energy, like the store, or sometimes somebody's office, okay, depending on your job, somebody's going to come in and yell at you in your office. You want to get rid of that energy and the person in a nice way. People, you can just ask them to leave or listen to them, they'll go away, sage. But what you have to do is when you light the sage and you want to get rid of the energy from the room long term, and then of course we have negative around us that'll rebuild, but every so often when you do that, what you do is you start at the corners of the room. And usually you start in the east, and then you bring everything from that corner and that part of your room into the center. And then you're going clockwise in a circle, and at east, cardinal point, east, west, north, and south, you bring all that, you sweep it into the center, okay? And then you do the same thing. When you're back at the east, you do it again, okay? And then when you're done doing that, and again, the sage is lit the whole time, then you're going to go to the middle and then sweep it outside. And that way you don't have anything residual left in the room. And mentally and emotionally, you're focused that you have no negative energy left. Okay, it's only positive. One is replacing the other. As you're sweeping it out, you have positive coming in right behind it. So you're literally replacing frequency, vibration, and energy. So if you do it in that way, then it's technically cleansed of everything negative. And again, doesn't mean we don't have more negative people coming in or, situations. And sometimes when we're upset, we're creating negative energy, not on a heavy level, but if you're really upset at something for those couple of seconds, you're upset. You can't help it. It's normal. We're human. If you never got upset, I wouldn't worry about you.
I know that you wrote a book called Supernatural Words of Power. And this brings us into the topic of the power of words and how we use it every day. And sometimes we don't realize that we're either programmed to use certain words and we don't realize that it's perhaps drawing something negative to us. I can't stand when people talk about aged or retirement or retired, because to me, it makes you feel like you're always old. And that the idea of like retired or retirement makes you feel like, okay, am I now too tired to do anything? Is that my life is over? I mean, is that what that period of life is all about? How do we, I guess, make ourselves aware of how certain words are going to affect our lives.
It's all vibration, right? So every time you speak, it's vibration and frequency and energy, of course, but it's all vibration. That's like when you're listening to music. Some music puts you in a sad mood. Some music makes you feel good. It's all vibrational, right? Some sounds will make you feel happy. So it's vibrational. So when we're using words, first of all, power words are very ancient. It is definitely not something new. The only new thing is every few centuries, somebody, especially shamanically, what we do is somebody will look at them and we'll get together and talk about it sometimes. But what we do is we change it to a newer word because society no longer uses the old words. Okay. But as an example, there are holdovers. So in society, we're still using power words from the past where nobody thinks about what it means. So as an example, the word target, right? So somebody's trying to find a job and they're looking and they found the right job and they're talking to somebody like family and friends and they're like, oh, I hit the target. Right? That comes from ancient times where they were actually using archery for survival, for food. You know, in Hungary, we still use archery for different things, you know, but it's more on the shamanic level because obviously we're not going to war with archery anymore.
Yeah.
But people will still use that because at that time, if they're at war, if they didn't hit the target might hit them. So it was a different way of looking at it. And a lot of the words we're still using. So the way we become more aware is just paying attention to what people are saying to us and what we're saying to people. Now, consciously, there are some words, again, it was ancient, but we updated some because those are outdated. And as an example, we use the word cancel all the time. So if somebody is sending us negative energy, say as an example, somebody's jealous of you, okay? It doesn't mean they're sending it consciously, although some people can. It just means they're sending you negative energy because they're jealous. That's a negative trait, right? So if you use the word cancel because you know that's how the person is, okay, what it does is it stops the energy from affecting your life, okay? So nothing negative is going to happen. They're not slowing down you winning the lottery or whatever your normal situation is. They can't slow you down because you canceled that energy. Okay. The other part of that people don't think about is sometimes we cancel ourselves. Okay. So as an example, if I'm driving down the parkway and somebody comes and they cut me off. Now, I'm always saying I only do positive. But if somebody cuts me off, I am not sitting in the car going, oh, that was so nice. You know, you have to be real about who you are. So I immediately used the word cancel to stop my energy from going out and hurting somebody inadvertently because I was not happy that he cut me off or she, right? So I cancel what I'm doing. And there are days, depending on where I'm working and what I'm doing, there are days where I'm walking around going, cancel, 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 cancel. You know, because some environments are like that. Yeah. So you're changing the frequency. So you are not changing anybody. You're not making them more positive. You're not changing any of their thoughts. You're doing nothing that's controlling. All you're doing is making sure that that negative energy cannot affect you. That's all you're doing.
Can I ask you something? Can I ask you something? Well, many people believe that, you know, either spells are not going to affect a person's life, or there are those who believe that, you know, they come from a culture that they are always putting up something like the, you know, the evil eye symbol just to divert any bad energy coming towards them. So, you know, and I always think in terms of like free will. Now, I do agree with you that we do tend to turn certain things onto ourselves. Like if you have a feeling like you're nothing but bad luck, you have nothing but, you know, you got a curse on your life, you know, then I would feel that that's how somebody else could affect you. But if you don't have that intention on your own life, I mean, would they still be able to somehow? It
would still affect you. If they do, if they're jealous for 2 seconds or one situation, it's not going to affect you. But if their personality is that they're jealous normally, then it's going to affect people around them because they're sending out that vibration.
Mm.
And I'll give you an example. In fact, what you were saying about, say like with luck,
Mm-hmm.
right? It just reminded me of something. I had a client years and years ago, very nice gentleman. And he was one of my students also, not just my client. And he was telling me, all I ever heard from him was, I'm never lucky, I'm never lucky, I'm never lucky. Right. And I said to him, if you change that word to I'm always lucky, you will actually change the situation through time. And he said, well, I don't believe it and it's not going to work. I said, you don't have to believe in it. It's vibrational. I said, all you have to do is instead of saying I'm always unlucky, just replace it with I'm always lucky. That's all you have to do, And through time, try to put your feelings into it so you're expecting it to happen.
Mm.
But I said, just replace the word. So every time you catch yourself, change the word. Use the word cancel to get rid of what you just thought and replace it, right? So a couple of weeks go by and he's going, oh, I'm still not lucky. I said, what did I tell you? He's like, okay, cancel, cancel, cancel. I'm always lucky. I'm always lucky. We did that for a couple of months. And then what happened was he didn't believe in it. But what happened was because he was constantly saying that, even when he wasn't thinking anything negative, he just replaced it. And I had him saying it as often as he could. When he was doing that, he called me up and he started winning things. He actually won he won like $50 in the lottery, but he never won before. So he got all excited because he still won, and then he won something else. And through time, now after the first 2 or 3 times, he was like, oh, it's really working. So once he saw it in action, then he started believing it. It's not that he had to believe it before. It's just vibrational. It'll work, right? So now he was saying it all the time. He was winning at carnivals. He won jackets for his nieces and nephews. He had everybody covered for every holiday you could think of. He won tickets to the Ducks, which is some sport. I'm not sure what the sport is. He was winning all the time through newsday, through the paper. They had little raffles and whatever, and he was winning tickets. And then this was funny. At one point, he won a ticket to a game, and for the same night, he won one for Broadway for a theater. And he said to me, he says, listen, I'm not going to Broadway. He says, I just won tickets a couple of weeks ago. I already saw that show. So he gave me the tickets. So it was great. He went to see the sports and get to go to Broadway show.
That's a good turnabout. I would prefer the Broadway show myself.
Exactly. But it was so nice. And all you had to do was not believe in it in the first place, but just start using it because the vibration changes the frequency around you. And then once he saw it, then he started working from it in a different way because now he saw it in action. That's what made him believe. Not the other way around. And it took months. It did. It took a while because for all those years and years, he kept saying, I'm always unlucky. I'm always unlucky. Then you have to use the word cancel and just replace it. So whatever you're thinking, like I always have a headache, you replace it, say cancel, and replace it with I'm always healthy, or something equivalent.
Now you also,
and through time, it'll change it.
You also have one where you use the word wolf, which I tend to like. That's my favorite.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's also in my book. And what happens is the word wolf speeds up whatever you want. Okay. So if you're working on, say, job hunting and you're putting out to the universe, you're looking for a particular type of job and you add the word wolf in the beginning, the middle, the end, doesn't matter what part of the sentence, but wolf will speed it up. So you're still going to get the right job, but now you're getting it faster. Okay, so it speeds it up. If you have a health issue, it will speed it up because you're focused on your health getting better, and there's different things we can do besides that, word-wise. But what's going to happen is anything that you attach the word wolf to will speed up. Okay, so as an example, and I like this one, because even though we're spirit, we're in a physical body, money is a good thing. It's the barter system. And nowadays, I'm all for the barter system. However, at this point in my life, I don't want somebody dropping off a chicken or a cow.
Yeah.
We get paid. So what happens is, when you're using that word, you can create a situation to bring in money. Now, the word to bring in money is the word count, COUNT. So if you think about it, that's an old word that's been updated like cancel, right? So when you're thinking about it, you're counting money at the supermarket, you're counting money in the bank. Okay, somebody gave you money, you're counting that. You're always counting when it comes to money, right? It doesn't matter if it's a credit card, cash, check. Money is money. So you're always counting. So the more you focus on the word count, the more it starts frequency wise being attracted to you. And if you use the word wolf with it, like count wolf, right? It's going to speed it up. So I always laugh because, and you know this, but I always laugh because I've been in the spiritual, psychic, paranormal fields since I'm 16. And I run across students and they still don't understand how I can make my bills and not have a 9 to 5 job, right? I'm saying, well, this is how we do things. There's a number of things that we do that we put together, and part of it is the words of power. They actually work through vibration. So you can think it mentally, but it works a lot better if you're speaking it. Okay. Now, in the middle of people, I'm not going to verbally say that, but I may whisper it because I need it to pick up now. Whatever needs to be picked up, Wolf will speed it up.
Now, in terms of healing work, I know you do healing work as well. And like you said, you use wolf in order to speed up healing, for instance. So what are the ethics and, like the moral perspective that you have about healing a person or lending healing to them?
So this is how it actually works with any form of healing. First of all healing works the same way. All healing, medical, spiritual, acupressure, acupuncture, witch doctors. The way all healing works is they're using different disciplines to speed up your natural healing process. That's how they all work. Okay, they're just different techniques, right? So the way it works with healing, especially I use a different form of healing. So when I'm sending energy to somebody for healing, first of all, I don't have to tell them. Every now and then you get somebody where, well, if you're going to heal somebody, you have to ask permission. No, you don't. You're doing something good, right? So if I'm sending healing, and for some reason it does not match the frequency of the person at the time, say they have an illness, and I'll use an example, but say they have an illness and they need it for some reason. It's helping them stay out of trouble or whatever it is, right? If I'm sending energy, if it's not positive for them at this time, the energy will just go right through them. Doesn't hurt them, doesn't heal them. It goes right through because at this point, that's not something that's on their path. Okay. If they're open to it, they just don't know how to heal, medical or whatever they're using. And they need to start up, especially. Okay, if I'm sending healing and they really want to be healed, it'll work. Okay, but that's in every field. But we're just doing it energetically. So as an example, I had this lady years ago, and she was very friendly. She liked people at her job in different places. And what would happen is every time they had a party, and she knew everybody, so it's not like she was nervous around new people. Every time they had a party, her friends, business, coworkers, she would get a really bad headache. She'd get a migraine, and she would actually get a physical migraine. She looked terrible. Her eyes weren't even open that much. She couldn't deal with the light. She had to have quiet. It was genuine. Right? And then through time, she found out that when she was little, she used to go to adult parties, and then people would ignore her. They wouldn't notice her. She was lucky they didn't step on her. So it was a negative experience growing up. So every time a party was going to come up, she really didn't want to go. It wasn't a conscious thing. So she would get the migraines. Once she realized what was causing it, the migraines went away because now she was open to the healing.
Right, that makes a lot of
sense.
sense.
That's really how it works.
Yeah.
So we can send healing. We don't have to tell anybody. We don't need somebody to go, oh, that was nice of you. Sometimes somebody will call me and ask for healing. That's different. But I'm saying we don't need to tell them because their energy just won't accept it if there's a purpose to it, like the headache.
So we're coming to the end of this show. Are there any last minute ideas you want to put out there? Or?
I would suggest use the word wolf a lot because we need things to speed up in our lives, and definitely use the word cancel so things don't affect you the same level or the same way. But more than anything else, I'd like people to remember to do only positive.
Don't forget to join us for more shows with the Budapest Psychic as we bring more stimulating content. The topic for the next show will be on your psychic emergency kit. Please like, share, and subscribe to get these shows to other like-minded seekers. For anyone looking for further information on Maria's services, contact her using any of these methods. We'll see you next time on the Budapest Psychic.